Side are two very short poems, and then I am going to tell a story that has been on my mind now for 3 or 4 weeks. It's because then maybe people will give me feedback on it afterwards. Okay, so the poems are: I am always different, but always the same. Some say it is my genes to blame, but to my shame, I feel that it is me coming through the cracks in the wall. Always different, always the same. Poem number 2. Don't put Descartes before the horse, screamed the Chinese philosopher. You will bamboozle his schnazola. So, thank you. Those are the 2 short poems. And then that's a segue into mathematics. You don't put the Descartes before the horse because it'll bamboozle his schnazola. Because I have been trying to learn calculus. And it's been bamboozling my schnazola. And so one day, going over it again and going, okay, slow progress. But suddenly this story came to my mind. From the 2nd book of Samuel, chapter 24. When David was getting on in years and he decided to do a census and told his general, go on and do a census. And his general Joab said, David, I don't think that's a good idea. And David said, why? I want a census. Do a census. So Joab went out and counted all the able-bodied men of Israel and Judah and came back with the numbers, 600,000 and 400,000. And then suddenly David felt regret. He felt like he had done something wrong doing a census. And so then this prophet Gad came to him and said, because you have done this, now you have 3 choices. You have offended Jehovah, and you have 3 choices. 2 months on the run, which he'd been through before. 7 years of famine for the whole country, or 3 months of pestilence. So he said, let me not, be at the mercy of man. I throw myself at the mercy of God. Let him do what he wants. So an angel came down, went to the villages. Every time he would hold his hand up, pestilence would spread. And 70,000 people were killed. And then David felt regret and said, man, I'm the one who did the thing. Let it fall on me in my house. Anyway, the angel stops at Jerusalem right in front of this one threshing building. And in the meantime, Gad comes to David and says, okay, now, God has heard your thing. Go by this building and build an altar and make an offering, and then the plague will stop. So he goes there, and there's this guy comes out. Oh, hi, king. What can I do for you? He goes, I want to buy your building because I'm going to make an offering. So he says, let me just give it to you. No, this is important, and I wouldn't feel right if I didn't pay for it. So he bought the building, made the offering, the plague stopped. Interestingly, that building, the site of that building that he bought, is the very spot where King Solomon later built the temple. Now, that's not the main point of the story. The main point of the story is that I was inspired to go and look this story up again because I was having trouble with my calculus, and the thought came into my mind that mathematics comes from Satan. And I read the story, and there, sure enough, there it is, right? Now, that was one possibility. And so then I considered, starting a religious cult based on that present premise, and recruiting middle school students and high school students so that then they could refuse to go to math class, on the basis of the First Amendment, religious freedom. But I wasn't sold on the idea. I still wasn't sold on the idea. I actually asked several pastors about that story. Most of them hadn't heard of it. And they said that they didn't know. I looked it up in Interpreter's Commentary of the Bible, and it said there is no known reason why God considered David doing the census a sin. But the story still ate away at my brain, One possibility is that mathematics does come from Satan. Second possibility I thought is, look at the Census Bureau. Today's Census Bureau. And look at the way that people are all treated as statistics. I thought this could be a commentary on, not treating people as existential realities, as general semantics says, the map is not the territory, and so when you treat people as numbers, you dehumanize them, and so there's something wrong with that. And then the third possibility I thought it was all these stories about how it's not the numbers that counts, right? It's not the size of the man in the fight, it's not the size of the man, it's the size of the fight in the man, kind of thing. Have faith, because there are a lot of stories like that. They cut down on, I've got 1 million people, he's only got 200. In a lot of these stories, it doesn't matter. The 200 go out and defeat the 1 million. So to rely on numbers, I thought, instead of relying on the sovereign deity, that was what the problem was. I haven't decided. I've been asking different people what they think. I didn't start the religious cult and recruit middle school teenagers and everything, because I still like mathematics. And because some people like Pythagoras and Plato, Pythagoras said, God is number. God is number. Pythagoras studied Plato and he got into it. He sort of agreed, but he said, God over-geometrizes. That was Plato's comment. Which brings us back to Plato. And that's where we'll pick up again next time that we start talking about Alexander the Great.